So now that let's say we have somebody that has identified a product or service that's relevant. They're adding value. They've structured it in a way to where they have some income. I'll tell you an interesting story. One of my favorite things to do in the building next door is where people come to the commission to start their LLC or their corporation. And so they often come into this building on accident. And so I like to walk them over.
That's nice of you.
And hear the story.
Yeah, yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah. Every one of these is so, it really, when you love business, it's just, this is like the mouth of the river. And so a woman came, she was very nervous. She thought that she would be in trouble with me. She and her husband started a pallet business. And they found somebody to buy pallets, and they make pallets, and they're making money. But they're not incorporated yet. They hadn't created the entity. They weren't legitimate. And so she was coming to make sure she did this quickly so she wouldn't be in trouble. Let's look at this model for a moment. So now somebody has some success, but they need to create this team. And they don't want to go to the brother-in-law. They don't want to, it's very funny how you describe that. And yet, oftentimes, who we put on the bus is going to make or break our business. What's your philosophy when it comes to human resources? How do you get the right people? And then how do you keep the right people?
It's the most important part of business. You know, that's why I went to military school. Then I was a Marine Corps. The reason when I talk to military veterans, you probably have the most important skill of all, because all we're trained to do, whether you're a general or a private, you're taught to be leaders. It is a #1 skill of an entrepreneur is people skills and leadership skills. And unfortunately, most people don't have it coming into. So when I do my talks to veterans and all this stuff, I really want to encourage them, you know, because they're pretty depressed because they can't get it. You know, they're a Walmart greeter, which is a good job, but they're afraid to take the leap into entrepreneurship. So, but military guys, I don't care what branch of service, just by the indoctrination process and the survival rate, whether you go to combat or not, is that you learn leadership skills, people skills. You've got to have that. You know, whether you're a team of one, you still have to deal with your customers, and the good customers, bad customers, lawsuits, taxes, government regulations, and all this. They're all people skills. You know, so when somebody says to me, what do I need to learn? I said, boy, you better learn how to communicate pretty quickly to people you don't like and get them on your side. You know, how to win friends and influence people. Basic book. The #1 skill of an entrepreneur is people skills. And to the degree that you have poor people skills, which I do, I don't say I have good ones, but because I still talk to people like I'm a Marine, and most civilians don't get along with that. So I have to learn how to not be politically correct, I would just have to be people correct. And that's not easy, because in the Marine Corps it was just very simply kill, they went, you know. Over here, I'll think about it. You know. So it's always personal development is what I'm saying, because the more I work on Kiyosaki, the better I am communicating out here. But if I'm my normal Marine Corps self, it doesn't work either. So I always say to people, it's your mental skills, how do you control your thoughts, emotion, because you know, I have a bad temper. When I lose my temper, nobody likes me. So emotion. And then it's physical skills. If I look like, you know, a bag of dirt and I'm not strong, people pick up on that. Health is important, all that. And then spiritual. You know, I don't cheat on my wife. I don't cheat on my customers. I don't cheat people. I don't cut corners. If I can't do something, I'll tell you up front. If I screw up, I'll tell you. You know what I mean? I mean, as you and I know, there's a lot of scum out there who are entrepreneurs. But they have bad personal skills. They have bad responsibility skills. They're not legal, ethical, moral, and spiritual. And I think today, the way the world's going, you better legal, ethical, moral, and spiritual. You look at what brings down the great guys like Clinton. You know, he'll always be known for his activity in the White House, although he was a great people person. So you look at what people remember. That's all. Tiger Woods, you know, he was the greatest golfer of all. And he gets caught screwing around, literally. It brings him down spiritually. So my wife and I have been married 30 years now. She's my business partner. We talk business. She's my best friend. She outplays me. She kicks my butt in golf physically. Emotionally, she's a lot calmer than I am. So we're a good partnership, you know. And then that goes into the next level of my CEO, my presidents, and all this. I have really got to learn how to deal with them because they're extremely successful people. You know, I can't order them around like I did in the Marine Corps. So I've had to make tremendous changes from my military style to a more entrepreneurial style. Excellent. And corporate style is different. I'm not corporate. Okay?
That was excellent. Marketing, sales, advertising. We have somebody that's got a growing small business. Now they want to take it to the next level. One of the things that I've always found fascinating about your business is that you're everywhere. I pick up a magazine, there's an advertisement for Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminars. I go onto the internet, it's social. What's your philosophy when it comes to selling your product? And what does somebody growing a small business need to know?
Well, I always say the number one skill of an entrepreneur is the ability to sell or communicate. Number one. Because sales equals income. So if your sales are down, your income's down. But it's not just selling your customer, you got to sell your employees. That's really tough, you know. And then next is selling my investors. So I'm selling investors, I'm selling employees, I'm selling customers, and I'm selling myself. You know, I got to talk myself into, I don't have the pleasure of being down. Entrepreneurs have got to be up. Because if you're down, your employees know it, your customers know it, the market knows it. So number one is sales. But when you look at the big picture, there's three things an entrepreneur must learn. Number one is PR. And what you're talking about is PR. The other day, Fox News interviewed me to find out if I would endorse my friend Donald Trump for president. You know how much that's worth? You know, they co-branded us. Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, and Trump. That's incredibly priceless. You know, so getting PR is a number one skill. Under that is marketing. And what marketing does is like advertising. They want to set the customer up to get ready to buy. Oh yeah, I saw that Kia ad. I want to buy a Kia. I want to buy some land, and I want to buy this. So the customer is now primed to buy. That's marketing's job. Then the last thing is a sale. So if you've done a really good job on PR, then you've done a great job on marketing. The sale is like that. You know, they walk in, they buy. But if you have no PR and you have no marketing, you have to pound. Hard close. Well, Mr. Customer, you know, today's changing business environment. You know, you should buy my insurance and all. And people today hate sales pitches more than ever before. So the number one sales job of a true entrepreneur is to develop your ability to get PR. Like for me right now, this is PR. Okay? Then is marketing. Marketing is kind of what I pay for. You know, it's kind of, I want to craft my message out there. So I'll pay to have an ad go on or do this, just to prime the mind to make the sale easier. And I'll say it again, most entrepreneurs are not good at sales. They're horrible at marketing. They have no idea what it is. And they can't get any PR. And so they struggle. And again, sales equals income. So they crash.
One of the things that I find to be a huge roadblock for entrepreneurs is the legal environment in our country. And there's some that learn how to get the upper hand and others that are just crushed by it. What's your philosophy when it comes to attorneys, and what advice do you have for someone to make sure that they start right so that they can continue right?
Well, first of all, you have to have an attorney. There's two people you must have. One is an accountant, one's an attorney. And not that they run your company, but they've spent years getting their mindset to give you the best legal advice. Because as an entrepreneur, I don't have time to go back to law school. So I've got to have an accountant and I've got to have an attorney, period. Say nothing more. The good thing is they work by the hour, which means you can rent them. So only get one when you need one. When you get older or more mature, then you can bring them on staff. But the biggest mistake that many entrepreneurs make to save money they become their own attorney, or they become their own accountant, or their brother-in-law knows an accountant, or their sister-in-law works for a law firm, and they get hammered. Like, all of my troubles have really started with legal documents, or the misinterpretation of one. I was talking to my great friend down in Mexico, and he and I wanted to do a deal. So he sent me a legal document to sign. And I said, hey, I never agreed to a contract. Oh, yes, we had a deal. We had a deal. I said, no, we were discussing the terms and conditions of the contract. No, that was an agreement. We shook hands. I said, shook hands. I said, goodbye. It doesn't mean we had a deal. We had a deal. Broke the partnership apart. It's just because a lack of sophistication does not understand how important that legal document is. I don't sign it until he's happy and I'm happy. But that takes negotiation, as you know. So it's, unfortunately, more important than ever before today is that legal document.
How do you pick the right attorney?
Well, it's how do you find a good wife? You kiss a lot of frogs. I've had some of those horrible, crooked, deceptive, nasty attorneys I've ever met. Same as accountants. What I found out, the accountants and attorneys who went to the biggest schools are not the best. I have found what I'm looking for is somebody who may be a private guy who is passionate about entrepreneurship. So they're a great attorney for entrepreneurs. They're not, most attorneys are looking for the big client, like I want to work for, General Electric. What I want is the attorney and the accountant who are passionate about it being entrepreneurs. So my guys right here in Phoenix are entrepreneurs, and my accountants are entrepreneurs. Every time I hired the big name corporate and law accounting firms, I have been grossly overpaid and underserved because they're so used to doing bigger things, they don't have time for a little guy like me. It's the same with bankers. I'm looking for a banker who loves being an entrepreneur. You got to have this partnership with the banker. I dump on the financial services industry a lot, and they deserve to be dumped on, but you got to have one on your team, So my banker is the love of my life because that's where I get my money from.
That's good. You're a competitive person. I've known you for a couple of years now. One of the things that I love about your wife, Kim, is how competitive she is, and it comes out in little ways.
Don't play golf against her.
It's
humiliating.
One of the interviews we've got to do this season is with a ultimate fighting champion who his business is just a branch of his competitiveness. How do you view your own competitive nature in regards to business, and are they interlinked? Can an entrepreneur be successful and not be competitive?
That's kind of hard to say, but you and I, when we're writing in, used a word that I encourage all people to use. I asked you, why are you doing this job at the Corporations Commission? And you said, because it's my calling. Calling is spiritual. You see, there's three types of ways people work. Number one is a job. Number two is a career. And number three is a calling. So let's look at it this way. It's not the job you do, it's your point of view on it. So a school teacher, I would say probably 30–40%, it's just a job. They're school teachers not because they like teaching, but they like the benefits, they like the pay. For them, the paycheck is the reward for doing something they don't want to do. The second is a career. So a school teacher goes in that this is my career. Someday I'll be vice principal or, some superintendent and things like that. So that's their career. And then we've all had teachers where their whole life soul is in teaching.
Those are the best teachers.
Well, those are the ones I remember. I also remember the ones who were the job guys. They were the worst, some of the worst I've ever had. I just argued and fought with them. They're the reason I left school. So when I talk to entrepreneurs, I say, is it just a job? Is it your career to be an entrepreneur, or is it your calling? And there's nothing right or wrong. You just be honest with yourself. You know, right now I'm going to start a taco shop because I need to make some money. Knock yourself out, you know. But when I started my first business, it was not to make money necessarily. Money is important because money is fuel for the business. But I wanted to learn to be an entrepreneur. So I started nylon Velcro wallets. I don't love the product. The product sucks. But I wanted to be a great entrepreneur. So I was willing to do a product that I wasn't passionate about, but I was passionate about learning to be an entrepreneur. And then when I became successful as an entrepreneur, I have enough money. I said, what do I want to do next? You know, I retired at 47. I had enough money coming in. And I said, well, I hated school. I love education. I just hated school. I loved most of my teachers. I just hated school. You know, because every time they said to me, go to school and get a job, I said, but I don't want a job. I want a business. You have to get a job. Do you know what I mean? It was the programming I didn't like. So with that said, I became an entrepreneur in education. And today I make millions as a teacher, but I make it as an entrepreneur. So when people say, well, don't you have enough money? I said, it's not about the money at this point, because I have plenty. It's about the job. You know, it's what's my calling. And my calling is we have no financial education in school, zero. You know, oh, we teach people to save money. Well, why would you save money when the Fed has printed $4 trillion? You got how stupid that is? And I'm going to invest for the long term in the stock market. That's financial education. Why would you invest for the long term in the stock market when we're at an 18,000 Dow? We're at all-time highs. And every 10 years, markets crash. So all these guys who are investing for the long term in their 401k, if you look at the odds and percentages, odds are they're going to get wiped out next 10 years, next 2 or 3 years. But they don't know any difference because they just, you should put money in a 401k. You got to be crazy. But without financial education, they don't know the difference. Why would you save money when you can train a chimpanzee to save money? What is so hard about saving money? You know, just go to the bank and put it in there. To a 401k, just go to your corporate guy, you check a couple of boxes. I want Fidelity and Vanguard, and you walk out. That's all you know. And then look at credit cards. They incentivize you to get credit cards. They make it so easy. You know, here, take this credit card, and we'll give you points. We'll give you miles. We'll give you cash back. They want you to get into debt. But it's really hard to do what I do because my partner, Ken McElroy, and I, we just refinanced $300 million of debt. That's hard. We got our interest rates down from an approximate 5% rate to a 2.5% rate. That means our cash flow went through the roof. Income came into us because we're deeply in debt. And meanwhile, everybody else is saying, get out of debt. Well, to be smart, you have to learn how to use debt. Irony of this is, the more debt you use, less tax you pay. Why? Because the government wants you to use debt, because without debt, money is not created. See, the dollar is no longer backed by gold, it's backed by debt. So the more debt I use, the more money comes into the economy. So I'm incentivized to get into debt, but these guys here are incentivized to get into consumer debt. Oh, use your Capital One card, you get money back. And they run around. It's easy. Saving money is easy. 401ks are easy. That's why so many people are in trouble. No financial education in schools.
Let's talk about the necessary education to be an entrepreneur. Now, of course, the first lesson for any entrepreneur is to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the Cash Quadrant. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Is there a class or a topic that you would recommend every entrepreneur take in order to be proficient in what?
My attitude is this: if you're going to be a real entrepreneur, you have to be a lifelong learner. I am studying, learning constantly. I never stop. And that's my competitive advantage. But also my core advisor team, we never stop together. You know, I have my accountants, my attorneys, my bankers and all that, we study together. That's what we do when we get together. We don't play golf, we don't drink beer, we study. Because study is the way you win. but you have to know what you're studying, because what you put in here, garbage in, garbage out, right? The other thing you have to be careful is who's your teacher, who's your mentor. I took golf lessons once at the Biltmore, and it was the most horrible golf lesson I ever had, because that was a golf, the teacher and I just did not get along. So they brought a new golf instructor in, and I learned to love the game again. You know what I mean? So as an entrepreneur, be very careful who your teacher is, because they can either kill your spirit or increase your spirit. A good teacher will inspire you to learn more. A bad teacher will tell you you're stupid and you should study more.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite book?
I have a lot of books. I read constantly. Right now, the book I'm reading is a personal development book. It's called Happiness Morning. That's number one. And the second book is called The Miracle Morning and Happiness Advantage. One's written by a Harvard teacher, The Happiness Advantage, fantastic book. And the other book is Miracle Morning, written by an entrepreneur. And they say the same things, but in different ways. So I read both of them 3 times because they're so powerful. But I'm working on me. You see, the economy out there is just the economy. If you think it's a bad economy, it's because your bad economy is here. If you think it's, those jobs are tough, that's because that's you in here. As any entrepreneur knows, it's always a good economy. No matter which way it's going, I can always make some money. It's always good. It's always opportunity. So I've got to protect the spirit or the entrepreneurial mindset inside of me. So when the markets crash, I make more money. Unfortunately, for the average person without financial education, the guy who invested for the long term, for job security, their house is an asset and all that stuff, they got wiped out. That's what happened in 2007 right here. They got wiped out by the crash, and others got richer by the crash. And that's the difference.
You have a favorite movie?
Probably A Few Good Men. I love it when Nicholson says, "You can't handle the truth."
That's classic.
That's a classic line. You can't handle it.
And it's got Kevin Bacon.
Huh?
It's got Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, everybody knows him.
Everything's better with bacon.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's all mindset, entrepreneur, skill set. I have to sell. I have to communicate. I have to know how to talk to accountants, attorneys, and all that stuff. And then the rules. The rules are different for small entrepreneurs and big entrepreneurs. And I love the government because you write the rules for these guys. And unfortunately, what upsets the socialists on this side is they don't know the rules on this side. I would never break a law intentionally. I don't have to. So I don't have to pay tax as long as I'm like Elon Musk in partnership with the government. And that was always my ultimate goal, was to be a good enough entrepreneur that the government would want me as a partner. So when I buy 1,600 units down in Tucson, government loves me because I'm providing housing. So I'm an entrepreneur in housing. I don't flip houses. That's a crime what they do, And on top of that, when you flip a house, the government charges you higher taxes to do that. As long as I rent the house, which I'm providing housing, they give me tax breaks. And when I borrow money, the government loves that because the government needs debtors. They don't need savers. They got plenty of money. They just print it. See, it's all opposite. These guys are opposite from these guys here.
So the last question that I've got to ask you as we wrap this up, you've made your business in Arizona. One of the things that I find just fascinating about you is that you live here in the summertime, which I appreciate because otherwise you wouldn't be able to do this interview today. Why Arizona?
I oftentimes ask myself that, but it is the Wild West. In my opinion, it is one of the last states of freedom with Nevada. And that's just I love my freedom more than anything else. So I come here. I love the kind of the Wild West atmosphere. I love the people that come here. They come for the same kind of reasons. So the heat, I grew up in Hawaii. And to me, this is wonderful heat because it's not humid. If Hawaii was this hot, it'd be. So So that's why everybody goes to the beach. But I love Arizona for the lifestyle, the wildlife, the mountains, the beauty of the desert, the people, the spirit. You know, the spirit is very much alive. It's still the Wild West, you know. And it's still, you can speak and say what you want most of the time without being stomped on by a politically correct Californian. You know? And I used to live in California until I received my tax bill. I moved here immediately.
Yeah.
And the same as Hawaii. Why did I move out of Hawaii? Taxes. Why don't I love New York. Why don't I do business in New York? Taxes. You know, I could go to Texas, but I love Texas. I love Nevada, but for some reason, Arizona is the more entrepreneurial spirit place. And I just don't want us to lose it. So that's why I agreed to do this program with you.
Wow. Mr. Robert Kiyosaki, thanks for spending the time with us.
Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Doing a great job.
Thank you.
If you're interested in starting a business, go to the Arizona Corporation Commission website at azcc.gov. And best of luck in your entrepreneurial endeavors.